Another episode, another day. Let's do it. Hello and welcome. I'm Jacob Bellotti, joined as always by my incredibly interpretive dancer. My tap dancer.
Right.
And my repping university alumni.
Yes.
Co-host Larry Saperstein. Hello.
Hi, Jacob. As if I haven't been with you all day.
I know, as if we hadn't been clutching each other in the wake of what has happened. But we'll get all up into that because this is Let's Talk About That.
All systems are a go.
Talking database activated.
Begin in 3, 2, 1.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what? Let's talk about who? Let's talk about me. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about that.
Girl, I cannot believe we are talking about that.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Let's talk about that.
Oh, here we are. Here we are.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
Everything is okay.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm much part of a team today.
Well, we're on a team.
We're on a team. We are. How are you feeling?
I am actually feeling great today.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I'm feeling okay. I am not one to give up hope easily. I have known the struggle of queer people.
Yeah.
One of my majors in college, hello, was in American history and specifically queer history.
Yeah.
And it has always been a plight of suffering and fighting and, coming back from disaster after disaster.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again.
I just, look, I'm not a political strategist. I don't know anything about the, election, really. I know what I voted for. I know what I stand for.
Mm-hmm.
I voted in favor of LGBTQ rights. I voted against racism. I voted against hatred and division. I, voted in favor of a competent, brilliant person that I thought would lead our country through this next chapter.
Right. Well, we voted for the most qualified candidate ever for president, who did not win the election. But that is because most of America is very, very stupid.
What I was going to say was like, I just, when do we get to stop fighting for our lives?
Well, we usually don't. Most people throughout history have not stopped fighting for their lives, their entire lives.
But like, at what point in society, in our society, like, do we finally get to say, like, actually, this is we don't need to just be tearing each other down?
I don't think we ever will, because people have a natural inclination for conflict. That's part.
It's us versus them.
It's a very human, thing to have. Like, conflict is inherently human.
Yeah, I know.
So there will always be conflict. But that being said, it didn't go our way. And listen, this man, I'm not even going to say his name.
Yeah,
on the podcast.
I don't even want to say his name.
He has late stage dementia.
Right.
Okay. He will drop dead at some point.
Right.
God willing. And he doesn't have a clue what he's doing.
Right.
He has no qualifications whatsoever for this position besides losing $400 billion. in his lifetime as a businessman.
Right.
One of the most unsuccessful businessmen of all time.
Right.
And
which is why he needed to be president. And by the way,
right,
in the first place.
And yes, it does break the heart a little that he will avoid prison time, which he deserves for his federal crimes that he committed, and was convicted of, and an adjudicated rapist. You know, he should be in prison, but that's not the way it worked out. But what I have to say about him, the whole point is that he doesn't have a fuck's clue what he's doing. He is incredibly erratic. He'll fire every single person that he brings onto his staff in the first place. Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone worried about RFK Jr. with his vaccine stuff. Like, guess what? He'll be fired in 2 months.
Right. I was literally going to say it'll last 2 months.
He will be fired in 2 months because that's all this awful, incompetent man does is fire people. That's the only thing he knows how to do.
Right. Fire people that don't blindly agree with everything he has to say.
Exactly. So all of those people will be fired, they'll be replaced, and then those people will be fired and they'll be replaced. And in reality, a lot less is going to get done than what we're scared of. That being said, it is, you know, a damning indictment of this country's population. It speaks to how uneducated a lot of the American public is. And, you know, that's something we really need to try and address in the best way possible.
And look, I also, like, I don't want to sit here right now and say, like, well, we're smart and you're stupid and, you know, you need to go read a book. Like, even if that might be true, it's like, it's on an institutional level. Like, it's not, I'm not in a space right now. I was very angry, you know, on Tuesday night. I was angry yesterday. Right now, I'm not really in a space of anger. I'm just in a space of, like, disappointment at, like, the system, for lack of a better word. And I don't necessarily mean, like, the political system or the government. I just mean, like, it's the people that lie to these people every day and wake up in the morning and say, like, that is okay. I'm okay lying to this population of people about facts, about truth, about what these people stand for, you know, and they hide, they conceal facts and information. They don't show the reality of the situation. You know, I mean, I saw posts and stuff, you know, from people who were very upset about the election and saying, well, the only thing our country hates more than a convicted felon, rapist, list goes on, is a woman. And while that is true, you know, that is true, what is also true is those people don't see him as a rapist. They don't see him as a convicted felon. They believe that all of those things are lies that are
conspiracies
made,
against
that
him.
are made up about him because people don't like him and because people don't want to face the truth or whatever their justification of it is. It's, you know, I hate this, like, argument that all of those people are terrible, stupid, racist people, and a lot of them are. Some of them are, you know, some of them do have that hate and vitriol in their blood.
Yeah.
And some of them are just completely misinformed about the truth.
Right. And we had talked about this. Well, first of all, I do want to correct one thing you said. And and it is about education. So
yes,
people with more education had a 79% higher chance of voting Democrat or being Democrat than someone who is uneducated.
Right.
And so that should sink in that maybe if you are a Republican, you need to reevaluate how smart you are and how better, holier than thou your attitude is. Okay?
Yeah.
I do think that is necessary. But we did talk about the circle of information, right, that we get, because our feeds, for example, are completely filled where you would just
absolutely
automatically assume Kamala's going to win. Like, obviously, like, there's no way, anything else could happen. Like, everybody's supporting her. Like, millions of views on the posts we were seeing about all of those things.
Right.
But it's a closed information loop. And I wonder if there's a way to bridge the gap where we're not just getting echo chambers over and over again. I wonder if there's a way where everybody could be exposed to every viewpoint, because I think that would help a lot, especially in this age of social media that did not exist before now.
Right, before the Trump era. I mean, it didn't exist when Obama was running for president.
The social media era has created these closed off spaces where you're only hearing one viewpoint over and over again. And I think that has really contributed to people having less knowledge and less education than they should have in this country, and less critical thinking skills by far.
Right. Even people that we know and love.
Yeah.
Even us to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I
won't deny we were in an echo chamber.
We absolutely 100%. Were. I mean, I was just going to say, like, I think, and I understand we're Californians, and maybe we're turning some people off by having this conversation, but like, I did not know a single person in my personal life, people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, that I talked to about the election, my family, my extended family, my family friends, people that I reached out to. I do not know a single person that did not vote for Kamala Harris. And that is, I don't want to say that's a problem, but I'm saying that is like the reality of the world that we live in. You know what I mean? Like, we associate with our own ideals. We associate with people that agree with us. And there's blinders about how the rest of the world thinks, or maybe not the rest of the world, but certainly the rest of the country, and the information that they're receiving.
Right. And I think the only way to fix that is to start putting ourselves in uncomfortable places, putting ourselves in spaces that are not our comfort zone.
Yeah. And maybe we just need to work harder.
And maybe that, prancing, skipping dipshit that makes his little X symbol by jumping like a little girl.
The one that ruined Twitter.
The one who ruined Twitter needs to be deported under the new laws that will be probably enacted. And,
I don't know if that will happen, but what I do think should happen is, there are billionaires that do believe in our country and that do support the Democratic ticket.
Yes, but to an extent, the people who are controlling the platforms that are most often used by the majority of people need to get their heads out of their ass and stop saying they're for free speech when they're not, and actually be for free speech.
Right.
And open up things where algorithms are not closing your feed to just your ideals.
But what I'm saying is, like, Bill Gates needs to get the fuck his head out of his ass and start putting his money towards, really putting money into our side. You know what I mean? Because Bill Gates is not someone who wakes up every day and wants Trump to win. I believe he's somebody who opposes, the Republican side, right? And I'm just using him as an example. I think that, like, Elon Musk is a lost cause. Whatever. I don't give a shit about him. I think he's an idiot.
He is a
he's
dipshit.
A terrible,
he's
racist,
a dipshit, awful,
power-hungry
man. And pathetic also. Very pathetic.
Sure.
If you look at the things he does, he is a pathetic man.
Sure.
Who, first of all, inherited millions and millions of dollars from his parents, so did not work hard for a single thing in his entire life. Not once. Says he's for, like, the freedom of the people, but then makes an account called America on his platform and spews
conservative propaganda.
Right. And so that guy is a dipshit.
Right.
Okay? And he's cringy. He's
course.
cringy and he's weird and he's fucked up and he's a horrible father. I will go that far and say he's a horrible father to disown his children who don't agree with him and follow his life path exactly.
He disowned his children?
He disowned his trans child. Yes, he did.
Got it. I didn't know that.
And quite frankly,
well, that's fucked up.
He is a dipshit, horrible father, scum of the earth human being, and it's pathetic that people look up to him because he is not what success looks like. Okay, and he is a look at what being a titty baby looks like. That's what he is.
And look, I want to stop you because we could go on and we could say terrible things about people for hours and hours and hours and hours, and that's not going to solve problems. Although maybe it will. I don't know. It'll certainly make us feel better. But I think it's like, why are there other billionaires that are not putting their money where their mouth is and that are not helping the cause of America? I think those people need to invest in other media. You know what I mean? And those media outlets, whatever, need to be more accessible and need to compete more for viewership, and we need to just have more balance in terms of like the information that is being given to people, and the people that can actually make an impact with that are the wealthiest among our society.
Absolutely. I just think, the takeaway here is that we need to be putting ourselves in more uncomfortable spaces. We need to be communicating with people who don't believe the same things we do.
But what do we do to do that? Where do we go? Do we have to move? Like, do we have to go to Texas or Oklahoma and
No, but in a more personal sense, it could be interacting with right-wing media, right? Like
I just feel like they don't listen.
Our feeds need to be not just a leftist echo chamber, right? They need to include views from the other side as well, because when you comment on those, they see what you're saying. When you post things to an algorithm that is only spewing it to a left audience, then they're not seeing that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need to try and fix in the next 4 years.
Yeah. It's just upsetting because even like in those spaces, like, getting into a Twitter fight with someone or getting into a fight with someone over Instagram comments is like not any way to really achieve any sort of meaningful change.
No, but
like, it has to be in person.
But it's not getting in fights on Twitter. I think it's providing information. It's you don't have to respond to anything said to you. It's going into those spaces you normally wouldn't be in. So you know what? Go on Truth Social. Go on it. Like, make a post and
maybe
talk about, all of the good things that have happened in the last 4 years under Biden's presidency, how we have the most thriving American economy ever, the lowest unemployment rate ever, the most inflation reduction ever, and put those things in those uncomfortable spaces.
Yeah.
And even if they don't listen to you, they need to start seeing those things, because right now they don't even see those things.
Yeah. I maybe you're onto something. I don't know the appropriate ways to interact with
But maybe
people.
someone will.
Maybe someone will. I mean, to look back at myself, even though, I've spent my life in incredibly liberal spaces. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. I've always been around queer people. I've always been around artists. I've always been around actors and people who think the way I do, and people who influenced me to think the way I do. You know what I mean? And I think my life in a lot of ways is very removed from people who think that way, and I don't share the same culture as those people. Like, yes, we're all American, and yes, we live in the same country. And but there are a lot of ways in which like our culture, literally, the ways that we interact with each other and the ways that we behave on a day-to-day basis are different. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that, we need to examine those things. And I have been in spaces in my life that, are not super liberal.
Right.
I've been in many situations of being around people who are not liberal.
Right.
And that taught me that like you see why people feel that way.
Yeah.
How different their lives are than how our lives are.
Yeah.
And you can understand how they could be easily manipulated into believing things that are very untrue. And it's sad because those people don't realize what they have now done. And they will feel the consequences of that over the next 4 years. And the reality of that is that, there's going to be nobody else to blame.
Yeah.
There's going to be no one to blame except the current government, because they're being left right now with the best economy we've had in 4 years.
But they don't think it's the best economy we've had because the price of groceries is more expensive.
Well, guess what? It's going to get more expensive.
Right.
And there's going to be no one to blame when the entire government is run by Republicans.
Right.
You can't pin that on a Democrat because they have control of the whole government.
Yeah.
And so these people hopefully will start to see, maybe I haven't been getting all the facts. Maybe I haven't been getting the right information.
I hope that's what happens. I hope that you are correct. And, and the other thing that just that kind of just breaks my heart is we have people in our local government that are fighting hard to protect us every single day. No one's going to come banging our door down and see us kissing and is going to take us out, and try to arrest us, because that doesn't happen in California. And a lot of things would have to go wrong for that to happen in this city and state. But other people in other states, in other parts of the country, who, by the way, probably did not vote in this direction,
yes,
are now having to live with the consequences. And it's just not fair. It's not right.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not fair. It's not right. It shouldn't be what happens. But listen, I have been a vocal advocate for queer people my entire life. Okay.
Yeah.
I have, studied queer history extensively. I have participated in helping LGBTQ youth. I have contributed to outreach programs. I have, donated to organizations that support LGBTQ plus individuals. Mm-hmm. And I have worked in media to promote the most popular queer show of all time, the most award-winning queer show ever, and spent part of my life doing that as well, so that maybe, some queer child in Indiana turns on their TV late at night and sees that program, and it gives them joy and hope.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is something that we will continue to do.
Absolutely.
For us personally, we will continue to advocate for the queer community.
Yeah.
We will do everything we can to help those people and to be there as a resource for those people and to help them find the resources that they need. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. And I honestly think the sense of community over the next 4 years will grow much stronger than it is right now.
I hope you're right. And, to that point, I think it is a good moment to say here, like, we have a growing audience,
Yes.
and we've been doing this pretty consistently now for 6 months. And actually not pretty consistently, incredibly consistently.
Every week, baby.
Every week for 6 months. And I feel like we have started to really curate a community here.
Yes.
In the form of the people who listen to our podcast and people who interact with us on social media. And I mean, I'm sure it was abundantly clear before, but like, just because I want it to be said for anyone who listens regularly, like, we love you and we support you, and this is a safe space for you. And I hope that the things that we talk about make you feel safe and make you feel heard and bring you joy and laughter and excite you. And I think, that was the work that I tried to do on High School Musical. That's the work that you've done. And it's the work that we're going to continue to do.
Amen. I mean, yeah, we're here. Listen, like we're in it with everybody, and all of our future episodes after this one, we're not going to be talking about the election. We're not going to be talking about depressing things, but I think it's important that we take a second and really dive into those things and how we're feeling, because everybody that, at least in our bubble, is feeling scared right now.
We're not alone.
And is feeling, a little hopeless and a little down, and like there's no way to fix anything. But the reality is there are ways to fix this. And we will continue to fight. Listen, I am nothing if not a student of history, and time again, oppressed people have risen up and have taken back their power over and over and over again. And I believe that we will do it again.
Amen.
So there you go. More Let's Talk About That right after this.
All right, and we're back.
We're back.
So we stopped that at a great place just before I got very emotional.
I know.
And
can't have you crying on the pod.
No, can't have me crying on the pod. Not today. So I wanted to talk about on this like note of we're all kind of grieving and feeling uncomfortable and feeling depressed. I have just been thinking a lot over the last couple of days of like the things that I've done in my life to like kind of cope.
Yeah.
When like things get really tough or when I feel alone. And I've like uncovered a lot of like really surprising mechanisms that I haven't thought of in a long time.
Sure.
I came back to a game. I don't know if we've talked about this game on the podcast. We have?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I came back to a game that I haven't played since like the middle of COVID. And
by the way, that is shocking considering that most people played this game in 2009.
Right. So I played the game in 2009, played it through middle school, and then usually like once a year or once every other year during like holiday break, I would come back to it and play. And then I didn't play for like all of college. And then during COVID, like another really kind of dark time when I was really struggling with my mental health and all those things, like I came back to this game, Wizard 101, girl. I know it was for middle schoolers. I know Selena Gomez was in Wizard 101. I know you can go to Grizzleheim and see Nick Jonas, a character of Nick Jonas, literally still standing there. And it is filled with early 2000s references or like late aughts references that are so nostalgic that bring me back to the Obama era.
Yeah. No, listen, I love it. I played it very much as well when I was in middle school. I think my first account was in 2008 on Wizard 101, and I played it for a few years. Probably like a year, but
only a year.
I don't know, maybe two. I can't remember.
So you really haven't played it in that long?
I have not played it.
You haven't picked it up in years.
No, I haven't. But I did love it. I loved it. And I also the other one I loved was Toontown.
I never played Toontown,
which is shocking to me because that's the Disney version of Wizard 101.
They're kind of the same. You know, I had
it's exactly the same.
I think what it was is I did try to play Toontown at one point, but I think it was like it just didn't run well, like on my computer or something.
Oh.
And so I never really got into it.
There's an open world version of Toontown that's available that you can download now.
Really?
But it's literally the Disney version of Wizard 101, right?
So what do? Do you fight enemies?
Yeah, you fight they're like cogs. They're like cogwheel enemies. They're like businessmen. You're like a creative thing, and then you're fighting big businessmen.
Wow.
But all the Disney, Mickey's in there, Goofy's in there.
Do you play as Mickey, Goofy?
No, you play your own tune.
That you create.
Yeah, you make your own tune. It's exactly the same as Wizard 101 in all those ways.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, it is really fun.
I loved the fantasy though of being a wizard. To me, that world it was so much more appealing.
Right.
And I loved the school aspect of it. By school I mean that there were different schools of magic, that you could be a storm magician or an ice magician.
I was Life Girl. I was always a school of life, honey.
The one that I went the furthest with was fire. I was in the fire school.
You pyromancer.
Yes, come on, fire. I loved that Ravenwood area, the school area.
I used to have action figures, and I would pretend they were Wizard 101 characters.
Fierce.
And interact and play with them and stuff.
You know, I wonder how popular the game actually was, because I knew people that played it for sure, but they never expanded into the merchandise market.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of the kids in my neighborhood growing up played it. I think that's how we kind of got introduced to it, was other kids wanted to play it or whatever.
Sure, yeah. And and they definitely advertised it on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really fun. I think we should probably go back to it. That would be a good coping mechanism right now.
I think playing Wizard 101 with you would be such a fun little activity to do for a day. Hunker down.
By the way, Wizard 101, we love you.
King's Isle Entertainment. Hello.
We love you. And if you are recruiting voice actors, I am nothing but available
yes.
To voice some characters in Wizard 101.
Absolutely. I think playing with you and starting new wizards from scratch and going on that little journey would be so fun.
See, the thing is, I get unnecessarily into things is the problem.
Well, me too. I'm so into Wizard 101. I would play till 2:00 in the morning, all the time.
Yeah, I would not be able to stop, and I would keep playing, and it wouldn't be a little journey.
Okay.
it would be we're conquering Mushu and Marleybone and Miss Grizzleheim.
Well,
and all
then
these
we would
worlds.
do that. It would be very fun and silly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I would get very into it.
But I think that would be fun.
Yeah. So maybe
at least for a little bit.
Maybe we'll go back. Yeah, but you say
we gotta have boundaries.
You say at least for a little bit, but the reality is I won't be able to stop. So that's
I think you'd be. I mean, the thing thinking back to Zelda, the thing about Zelda is that it ends.
Yes.
Wizard 101 doesn't end.
Yes, that is true.
In order to get to the end of what they've created in Wizard 101, we would probably have to play every single day for a year.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say video games as a whole are, probably a good coping mechanism for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have now finished The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
She's played the whole Zelda series, girl.
I beat Ganondorf at the end.
And we watched the 3-hour YouTube retrospective of Tears of the Kingdom.
We sure did.
We are caught up on Miss Zelda and her tears.
I am caught up. What a disappointment that game was compared to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And that being said, I hope they make another open worlds like that type of game.
Yeah, I don't know if they will.
World.
I don't know if they will.
Well, I think they're making a new version of the Switch or whatever, and they'll probably make one for that console.
But it might not be open world in the same way.
Well,
using the same map.
Well, maybe we have to have a chat with some people at Nintendo.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
So anyway, I finished Zelda, but video games in general are good for a lot of people coping wise. I know that. But beyond video games, there's a lot of things I do to cope with emotional distress.
Okay.
The first of which is getting outside.
Going for walks.
That is a big thing that I think a lot of younger people are counting out.
Mm-hmm.
Go outside, go in a forest, if you live in a desert, go on top of a fucking mountain. Like go out.
Be careful of rattlesnakes.
Yes, be careful of rattlesnakes, but remember, they don't want to hurt you any more than you want to hurt them. Conserve nature here. All right. But being in the sun or just a fresh air environment that is not like the inside of your living space or like even outside in like a big city, right? So like I'm saying like particularly like if you live in like New York City, get out of the city.
She's coming for New York.
No, and also in LA, if you live in downtown LA, get out of there, go into real nature, not a manufactured park that's human made. Go out into real nature and spend a little time walking and listening to the sounds of nature and feeling the sun on your face or the rain or whatever weather you're in, the cold, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like spend a little time away from all of it. Leave your phone.
Yeah, don't listen to a podcast. Don't listen to music. Listen to the sounds of nature.
Leave your phone. I guess if you have the GPS there, like leave your phone in the car. Okay?
Right.
Leave your phone in the car and just go out there. And I'm going to do my first ever sneeze on the podcast, I think. No, I got it. I contained it. I contained it.
Gotta be freaking kidding me.
But seriously, I grew up, and for the record, I'm Jewish, but I was in the Boy Scouts of America, which I know is a Christian organization and has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority of my experience was very positive in the Boy Scouts of America. Okay.
Love.
I learned so many wilderness survival skills. I learned a lot of like life skills that I didn't have, like cooking and how to make things and build things and fix things and all of that stuff.
Now, what were these cooking lessons?
I knew you were going to say that.
Tell me about these cooking lessons.
Not only did I learn cooking, I taught cooking. Can you believe that?
Girl, a generation of young men
I know
are scrambling the eggs in the pan.
I taught cooking merit badge. But there are like I learned so much about life from doing it in a way. And I think it's important. The most important thing I got out of the whole experience was spending time away from technology, spending time in the outdoors.
Yeah.
And really interacting with the world that's around us.
Fierce.
And I think that's a brilliant way to move past emotional trauma, as Jamie Lee Curtis would say.
I also I saw a lot of people talking about this yesterday, and a lot of people are just saying like artists are gonna like get to work now.
I'm already working.
I know, but like I'm just thinking about I did like I was the most into being an artist and a creative and working on music and all that stuff like during COVID when shit was like really bad and I didn't have anyone to talk to, like I think like last night I substitute taught one of my friends tap classes and I went in and I was like, God, how am I going to get through this today? Like, I just don't know how I can do a tap class. Like when
we had a dandy old time.
Yeah. And you know what? And the thing that I realized was like, well, the other people that are coming to this tap class need a moment to kind of escape and to feel to kind of let their mind turn off and just like enjoy the comfort of the room. And like I was like, if I can create like a safe space to have fun and tap dance and just talk about rhythm and steps and not talk about the world, like we'll all feel better for it. And I know I certainly did at the end of it feel better. So
I did too. I had a great time at that tap class.
I'm so glad. Like, and I think that is it too. Like music and dance and art, and writing.
Listen, this is not a new concept.
I know,
right?
I know
like,
it's not a new concept.
This goes back to the feudal system of serfdom in the 1400s. Girl,
right?
What happened at the end of the 1400s when the feudal system collapsed? The Renaissance began, and we all of a sudden had art emerging from the darkest times. Right after the plague, right? We get the Renaissance.
Right.
We get all of this art. We get the Mona Lisa. We get Raphael. We get David from Michelangelo. We get all of these amazing artists creating and putting things out there and creating a bright new world, which is exactly what we're gonna do again.
Yeah, and it's gonna happen. I think about like those things took 100 years. For those like transitions. I think those transitions in our modern world,
instant, honey.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like in the era that we live in now, it's not necessarily that those transitions happen differently. They just happen so much faster.
Yes.
And it's like we will have like a huge boom at some point in our lives that is like a renaissance of sorts, after coming out of a dark time of division and hate and all of those things. Like there will be a boom, and I think it'll happen soon in our lifetime because things move so quickly now.
Yeah.
And we have history to look back on, and we know, and we're informed as a society, as a population. We are informed.
I think it'll be a great time for art, and art in all forms. So I think television will be great again.
Yeah.
I think movies will come back full force.
Right.
I think music, there's going to be great music that comes out of all of this.
Right.
If we can stop writing about stupid things.
Even if they are writing about stupid things, that doesn't mean that it's not great music, and that it's not helping someone cope or helping someone move forward. Like, I mean, some of the best music ever is about stupid things, but it comes from an honest place of struggle and working through something and needing to find the stupid in something because life is just that hard. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think we're going to see all of those things blossom.
I agree with you.
Over the next 4 years, which is good news, because I think everybody needs just a little good news at the moment. And that's there it is. That's good news.
Yeah, that is good news.
I think we're going to have some amazing, amazing days throughout this because it's easy to think like when these things happen, oh, I will never be happy again.
I know.
There will never be joy in my life again. And that's not true. Even the last time this dipshit was president, we had days of joy.
Yeah.
We had fun times.
We had personal growth.
We did. And those things will still continue.
Right.
Like those things will still happen despite who the president is of the country.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's important to remember that it's really like not the end. It's not the end. It's a time that maybe we have to fight a little harder than we used to. But you will still have joy again. You will still have good times. You will grow as a person and you will, make mistakes and learn from them and do all of that shit. That will still happen regardless.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah. I think that's really profound, and it is really scary, and the prospect of what we're up against is scary. It is possible all of the rights that we're talking about potentially going away and all of those scary things I don't want to sit here and say those aren't going to happen because we don't know. But what I do know is that as a community, we will figure it out together. Yeah. We'll support each other.
We sure will.
And we'll find each other and be there for each other.
I agree. Do you think we should just wrap early on this episode?
I don't know. I think we found like a really heartfelt moment, and it's really hard day, a really hard week.
Yeah.
And I think when this comes out, I mean, people are going to be still
having a difficult time. And I don't know if I want to spend 15 more minutes talking about the same
farting.
Thing. Right. and talking about, stupid things, because I think this is an important episode. Yeah. And I think it's good that we have sat down and done this. We're working through it together and trying to help other people find ways to work through it.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perfect place to stop for today, because you don't need to hear us repeating the same thing over and over again. And the last thought I will leave you with, though, is I think for the next week or so, people try to stay off social media, unless, of course, you are looking at Let's Talk About That Pod on Instagram
at Let's
or
Talk
TikTok.
About That Pod on Instagram, TikTok.
Love you for that. Love you for that. But truly, like, give yourself a fucking break from all of it, because you're going to see the same depressing thing over and over and over and over again.
I mean, and I even just in little ways, I'm trying to give myself a break this week. Like, I didn't get out of bed today until much later than I should have. And some days that happens, if I'm having a hard day or whatever, and I get on myself and I say like, ugh, I should have gotten up earlier. I should have done this, and I'm not doing that this week. Yeah. If I'm up late, or if I'm watching a movie, or if I'm laying in bed until 1:30 in the afternoon, like.
But we were so comfortable.
We were so comfortable, and we needed, we needed each other, and it's okay. Give yourself some grace.
Yeah. Yeah. Have grace for yourself. Please stay healthy. Eat. Do not stop eating because you are sad. You still have to eat. Go outside, take a walk, even if it's 5 minutes, even if you go around the block.
Yeah.
Take a walk, keep yourself as healthy as you can, and try your best to stay off social media in the most ways possible, because there's nothing good on there at the moment. And I think there will be a good time to return to it. I just don't think that time is over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's actually not that much shorter of an episode.
No, I guess I did have more things to say. Sorry.
So, I mean, it's a little shorter, but we hope that if you've listened to the end and you didn't turn this off as soon as we started talking about the election, that we've helped you feel a little bit better today and a little bit less alone. And
we'll have to put a deceiving title on it, like Let's Talk About Bunnies or something.
Yeah, exactly. This certainly helps me feel better.
Good.
Did it help you feel better?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of thoughts that were swirling in my head that I hadn't fully articulated yet until just now.
And it's good that we got them out a little bit for the whole entire internet to see. Well, anyway, we love you guys.
We do.
And we'll be back next week with an incredible guest.
My God, the guests we have lined up for our audience over the next few weeks.
Oh, yeah. We have, oh, gosh.
Oh, my God.
We have figured out a lot of our programming through the end of the year, believe it or not.
We are ahead of the game.
And, we will be keeping things really fun.
And listen, we've had a lot of requests, and we have done our best to honor those requests and the guests that we are having in our upcoming weeks. So make sure you keep listening.
Yeah, if you have a guest request, send us a DM.
Yeah.
Because, we're up for it.
And also, we know a lot of people, and we're also not afraid to cold email a lot of people.
Yeah, we are not afraid.
So listen, if you want somebody on the podcast, Dolly, I'm looking at you, Dolly Parton. Just let us know, and we will do our best to get them on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Take care of yourself. We love you. And we will see you next week with a very exciting episode of
Let's Talk About That. Bye.
Bye.